We got us a trail bay in here. I think they had a couple of leaks. What do you think? A couple of leaks here. Zip system flashing. That's to be used with the new zip walls that they have out when you're building a house. When you put the sheathing on, you put that tape over the joints of the sheathing to help keep it more insulation value. But you can see they've had issues everywhere. Gee whiz. Well, I guess you can see the brunt of this thing. Alright. We're going to rip it apart. And then we're going to see what's going on with it. We'll be back with more from RV Roof Install Studios. Alright. What a mess. Well, we got some delam here. You can see all that. We're going to get that to dry out. Doesn't sound bad. Doesn't smell good though. We're going to get that dried out and to see if that's compromised or if it's water stained. Obviously get some mold kill right off the rip. But actually I think that's what that was. Sprayed on there. That's normally what we do. We put mold kill on it and then we let it dry. At least that soaks it in. That's really what it does. You can see all the damage we got here. We'll go inside. I'm hoping the sealant isn't compromised too much, but we'll have to strengthen that up. Put some rod on this side. Some more delam right here. So definitely a lot of issues with that. Give you an idea. I like to look at the wires to see if there's a ferrule or something compromising them. And so we're definitely going to have to at least replace this one piece right here for sure. Then we got some damage on. This is a band. This piece is called a band because it's banding them all together, much like when you build a deck. You put that on. Some people call it a ribbon band joist or a ribbon joist, but that's what it does. And then this is, so it's pulling all these together. It also gives you something to screw your termination bar on right here. We call it termination bar. I think they call it gutter rail in the RV industry. So we got all this. And again, I want to see how much we got in there. I'm going to pull that piece up right there. I can feel that's still wet. And, you know, we've had this coach for a bit. And if you don't open it up and dry it out, it's not going to get dried, period. Period. It will not get dried. You come back 2 years, still be soaked. So, I think that's what that cut was for right there. So, we'll get that popped. And we're going to get this all dried out. That's about where we are right now. So, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. Watch some of the videos. We'll take all this here and see what's going on underneath all that as well. Let's go around the other side real quick. Give you an overview on some more staining here. Let's see what we got there. A little more here. That feels dry. Just looks water stained. That's where the antenna was. You can see moisture was already getting underneath there. That's why all these things really need to have curbs on them. I'm surprised you don't see a lot more around the vents. Because typically that's where we see a lot of the damage, is around those vents. But they didn't have very much in here for strength on this piece of Phylon. It's just real flimsy. It actually feels like a piece of plastic. Doesn't even feel like real Phylon. But there's no strength to it at all. We put that 2x4 in there just to kind of hold it open, so we get some air in there. So that's where we are. And more to come. We already tore all this apart and we relaminated it. We had to put a new piece in there and also in that corner. And then down the bottom, going along the bumper there. That's what we did there. Then, which is real similar to what we did over here. The time got away and I didn't get the camera in time for that back piece. But this is new skin that we put on here, and then we're going to glue the fiberglass back on this. So get that. And like I said, we did the same over here. We put a new piece in, and you can kind of see all that red. That's all the adhesive we use. So it's all glued in. You can actually see the fresh wood right in there. Like I said, it kind of got ahead of me, which is good. We're moving along. And then we put another piece like this all the way across the bottom, because underneath that door over there was really bad. Probably had to take the door out too. And the light on the other side. So that's where we are so far. So we're going to get this other one on there and start putting it all back together so we can get this roof. Well, we're moving along. We're trying to get the insulation filled in where it's scarce. Then we had a piece rotted here. We replaced it. That was just water stained. And there was another piece up here missing for the front section. So we replaced that one. Then on the other side over here, right there and right there, those are just sagging just a little bit, not very much. So we wanted to put some gussets in there and kind of strengthen it up. So we double-sided it, glued it all in there. Actually, you can see all the glue we got all over our hands that we wiped all over there. And we filled on the other side. I'll go around the other side and show you what we got there. But we're moving along. We're going to get some decking on this. All the fine line is done on the siding here, on the back. Still got to put that door in down there. And on this other side, we had it pulled away from the scaffold over there so we can work there. So we're probably going to push it back. Try not to move the camera too fast so it doesn't get squirrely on you. We'll replace this piece here. We already showed you this. We got this one glued in. We're going to have to just epoxy that joint. It was already cracked, so I tried to follow the crack line. I made that one squirt up there. It's the best we can do with it. But what we'll do is try to color that epoxy so it blends in. These are the gussets that we put in there. So we get all that squared away. And then, like I said, we just got to straighten that out, clean up the trusses, because we're going to redeck the whole thing. And that's what we're up to. So one of the things I didn't point out, which I wanted to, this deck was glued down. You can see they used good glue on here. They got quite a bit of glue. And they stapled it down real good. It's one of the very few roof decks we see. But this is an older camper too. I don't know the year, but it probably says it on the title. But it is one of the few that I see that have actually been glued down. Now they don't glue them down at all. That's too much money and too much time for them to do it. Oh, look at that. How can we save money? How can we save money? Give you a 1-year warranty. You're doing too much work. And I've noticed it after the recession of like 2007 and 8. Even into 9, where somebody sharpened their pencil real good and said, hey, if we don't need to. And the other thing is they don't nearly put as many fasteners either. What they've been doing is putting one screw in the middle, one in the end, one in the end, and then they split the middle in the end. So you only get about 5 screws all the way across an 8-foot sheet. And I've run across some that don't even do every single truss either. They only do a couple, mainly where they meet. Maybe one here in the middle, and that's it. They don't do them all. So they're really trying to just, whatever they can absolutely get away with to give you the cheapest, shoddiest thing to save them a few more cents, they'll do it. All right, well, welcome to Sunday. The other day or whatever, I was telling you that this was glued down, and I was curious to know what year it was, because I know during that recession they stopped gluing everything down. And this is an 02. This is an 02 model. So you can see we've put new decking on here. And there's a foam adhesive, everything's been all done. We had to add some insulation in certain areas, I think back here, a couple other areas. So we got a skylight right here, that's why that looks a little raised up, so we got to cut that out anyways. I got another burp over here that there's a double truss in here. So that double truss, one doesn't want to sit the same as the other, so we'll sand that down, this little burp. Not very much, but still I want to sand it, and then we'll put that protective strip over it. And then I got one more piece right here, which is like 49.5, so I'll have to cut these other 2 sheets. This is Tech Shield by it's an LP product, and what it does is it reflects UV light. That's what it's supposed to do. Now they say for this to work in ideal conditions is you're supposed to have like a 3/4 inch cavity underneath that, but you know, it's a lot smoother than typical OSB, which I like. And I figured it would give it yet a little bit more, even if it didn't do work to its full potential, it may work to enough to help a little bit. So that's why we decided to go with that. But now, like I said, we got a couple more to go, and then you can see all the adhesive up in here. We've got it all up in there. So that's it. So we're plugging along. We got everything else fixed on the side here. We got this piece in. This piece, I explained that already, so we'll epoxy all that back together. I'll get all this together afterwards, but at least we were able to move the scaffold over so we could work a little more comfortably doing this here. So, but all right, so the next step is clean it all up, get the stables down, put our protective strips on, and then start getting the roofing on here, right? Trying to clean up all this silicone. There's silicone on there. we're trying to clean all that up. This coach is really dirty. This side come out pretty good, and just add some cleaner. But you can see, I mean, the whole thing is just filthy, which we're trying to get it so it's not so bad. But then I notice this stripe down here. I don't know if we're going to be able to get that off. That's all below the gutter. The gutter rail sits here, but I don't know. They're probably going to have to detail this thing or clean it up. That little light spot was there. So. Then I got some more left right down there in the front. That's all I got left. At least to get it prepped so we can get the roof going. And then, you know, we're going to do the corner molds and everything else, but right now that's what I'm trying to work on. And the whole roof is all decked. We've got all that done. And it's just a matter of getting this clean and getting the strips on here. We'll get the strips on there, the protective strips on the edges as well. And then going across here we'll have them, so it'll be nice and tight. And cut our holes and get going with the roof. Alright, so now what we did is we have got all the joints sanded, make them look good, cleaned them all up. Now we're going to put our protective pieces on there, like that. I'll cover that joint, banged in, make sure all the staples are set, and that's what we're getting ready to do right now. Getting our wrap put back on. Driver's side has been glued. You can see we got our protective strips in there, and everything's ready. We're going to roll the roofing over now. That's what we're going to do. Voila. Then we get our crash everything off the wall there, and we use our balance roller. We're going to balance this out, and we're going to hit it with the big roller afterwards. That's kind of like a preset. So we're going to check that. The roller may be a little dirty. We'll put new fresh tape on it if need be. That's what we do. And we'll get to the next side. So we get this one, obviously the other side, passenger side done. And now we're going to take this big roller and pack her down. We will pummel it with the big roller. It'll get pummeled. Keep it pummeling. Constant pummelage. Okay, we are done with our little trail bay. It is done. Here's our logo, rv-ri.com. I got this new web address. It's actually called a domain because it saves me from having to cut out all those other letters. And then, believe it or not, I think on a couple other ones, it just says rv-ri.com, which I don't have that domain, but I do have it if you put a dash in there. January 20, that's when we completed this, so now we can monitor this roof when it comes back for inspections to make sure everything's doing what it should and it's functioning. There's no premature failure wherever. So the other things we did, we go around the lights, went around the lights, changed all this insert trim that goes all the way down here, right here. And then there's 2 strikes of caulking all over this, and there's also a primer on there. So the way these get assembled is behind this gutter rail, we seal that. We have an adhesive caulk that we use, but you have to use a primer. You can barely see it right there, that gold. So you have to use a primer. We put the primer on there, then we put the piece on and we fasten it on there with some screws. It's going to burp up. When it does, we strike it down. Once that gets struck down and cures, we come back and we put another lick on there of caulking. When that cures, we go back and put yet another lick on it. So we want to make sure that it's tight. The reason why we put the 2 stripes on there, if you've ever run a caulking gun, then you have probably experienced where it'll pop or crackle. So what you do is you bury an air pocket underneath there, and these things rack and flex and twist a lot. You don't want that little air pocket to pop and then you got a leak. So my thought is, what if we put 2 strikes on? What are the chances of having one air pocket hit over another? Probably slim to none. So that's why we do it. We also rebuilt this whole side. We already showed you all that, all this rebuild, and got all that squared away. I think we also did some work on the inside. All we did was replace that interior panel. It's just a piece of loom on it. Doesn't look fancy. All we did is just replace it. But we got all our curbs welded in. Got our boots welded in, all our curbs. Everything's all welded. And then this is all welded. It's not welded here. This isn't adhesive. It's not a caulk or anything. This is literally welded and fused together, much like you'd weld two pieces of metal. It gets so hot that it bonds itself right down to it. So that's how that works. We've got a counter flash on here. And what the purpose of that counter flash is, you get caught in a heavy rain. I'll back this up a little bit. A lot of the issues that you have with your conventional systems or even a flat roof is you have a lot of erosion effect where water is just constantly rolling over things, and that'll kind of compromise the seal that's on that particular detail flash, right? If you were to just put this down and they screw it down, you slobber it with caulk and you got water just rushing over it all the time, it is eventually going to wear it down. So what this does is it prevents, if you were in a heavy rain or any rain for that matter, but it would, if the water was blowing hard enough, it would hit here and it would come right out. So it's not going to be able to jump up over here. You'll still have rain coming down, but you're going to minimize that erosion effect. So we've got the bases here. These are we fabricate these feet up, and what those do is just give the AC some balance. Now on the AC, it does have one of these counter flashes like this. It does on there. They all have them. But on the AC, the issue with it is when the water comes down this way, there's a foam gasket up inside there, and what will happen is the water will trickle back and get in, especially on the front side there. It'll get in, and even though you have a gasket on there, I just don't want any water in there at all. So on the underside, if you were to feel it, it's got some bumps and ripples there, which that'll make the water kind of fall off and droplets. It's a water adhesion principle, but anyhow, it's unlikely that you'd get water coming in this way. But on the front, you could, especially if you had a blowing rain, try to force it that way. So that's why we put this front counter flash on here, and it goes up underneath the lid. Again, these are all heat welded around. You can see the nice curve we made over there for the antenna. And all that's all double sealed as well. So we get all that squared away. The thing with these plumbing, which is great, is that's a boot. That's all. Again, it's all heat welded. That cap, when you push it down to the pipe, there's a spring that snaps open. So if that pipe cap come off, the only thing that would be exposed is the actual pipe. Where on an RV, they have a base, and the pipe comes up. There's a good sized hole there, and then they put the cap over it. So a lot of times, if the cap gets popped from maybe a tree branch or something, you still have that exposed and water gets into the roof deck. This way, water can't get in there at all. It'll just go into your holding tank. That's how that works. All right, so I'll give you another glance over here. But boy, we had a little bit of work to do on this side for sure. We got our awning all put back together. Everything all squared away with that. Radio, same thing. Put it in a boot, sealed it up. There's another stand for the AC. This is a curve for the TV antenna. We have to change these antennas out from the cranks. You can put this one on, or you can put the wind guard on. This is a wind guard, in fact, but this is called a Z1, and the Razor is an automatic, and it looks like a cake in a way. And it's easier to install, but you know the customer wanted to go with this. So this is a lot cheaper than the automatic. However, if a branch did take this, you got to break all that apart, and it has to be all resealed. Where the way I designed the other ones, they're up on little boots that I designed, and all you have to do is take a wrench and you can loosen them up and pop that antenna off without any resealing at all. It was just 3 nuts and a coax, and you can go in the store and get it and put it back on and put the coax on, and you're done. So you don't have to seal anything. That's the only disadvantage to this, although like I said, it is cheaper. So not my wallet, but I just figured I'd let people know that. So if you have one of those crank ups and you're thinking of coming in, just be aware you're going to have to change out that antenna. The crank ups have a shaft that goes through the ceiling, and then there's a crank on there, and that crank only bites on like maybe 3/8 of an inch or so. So if we build a curb for it like this, that shaft will be up inside this ceiling attic cavity, right? And you won't be able to get the handle back on. Now some people say you can put new shafts in them and this and that. We're not going to get into start rebuilding an antenna at all. With my luck, we'll go in there and try to put a new shaft in, and this gear will be stripped out, that'll be gone, this doesn't fit or something, and to try to save a couple bucks just seems to be a bag of baloney. So, all right, so let's show you what we got here. This is Carlisle's Sure Weld That's what it is. This is a commercial membrane. This is the same exact product you're going to find on a hospital. You're going to find it on a office building, a library, a restaurant. Same exact product. This is a structured roof membrane. This is commercial. This is not RV grade at all. In fact, anything that says RV, don't buy it. It's just a scam. They're just getting in the market to sell product and, you know, exploit their product so they can get all that cash. So this is what you call a structured membrane. You can see the weave in there. And what that does, it adds strength to this. Basically, it's a tensile strength, meaning downward. So if you had hail or a tree branch or something try to hit the piece, it has all this strength. So it's real hard to puncture this compared to your typical RV roof. It also resists scratches from tree branches and things like that. So great product. It comes in different colors. So if you're interested in that, you can let us know. We can always send out samples. And now I'll show you this is the insert trim we put in. This is what comes from the factory, okay? This is your typical RV junk. And what happens with this one, you can see on here how it just slides in that track, see? So now that it's sitting up like this, you'll get water down on this side and it'll trickle all down inside that track. What we use is this. And as you can see, there's a groove. See the groove in there? See how it sits in and over that track? I'm going to lock all that water out. I don't want any water in there at all. I'm going to do the best I can to find a product that's going to work long term. And this seems to be doing the trick. It's really tight. This is really tight. I mean, you can't push it like you can this other one. This one will slide back and forth. But and even if this was new, it may be in there a little tighter, but it's still not a good choice. You don't want water getting in there because it'll start rusting out the screws and everything. On ours, we see all this is all sealed anyways. That's why we don't use a butyl. But again, if you were to replace it, I'd recommend this here. This is what do they call this? DX946-1W. That's what it is. So you can look that up if you want. You can not get this in black. I can't find this in black. I have it in black, but you cannot find it in black. The company doesn't make it in black because the RV industry doesn't want to pay for it. So I had a special order, almost 2 miles of this black, just so I'd have it. So, but we don't sell anything. We don't sell any products. We don't sell the curves. We don't sell any components. We don't sell anything at all. We don't sell the roofing. We don't sell anything. And these, just keep in mind, I'm just giving some information on what we use. You know, we do that so the customer can see all the work we've done to their coach. But these are definitely not DIY videos. You know, I don't want someone, there's a lot of things behind the scenes that we have to do, and I could not possibly go and video all of that. It just isn't going to happen. So, because there's so much, and I'd have that camera, and I've got too much work that we have to do in here. But, so keep that in mind. But like I said, something like this, you guys may be able to get if you like this type, you know, if you want to change yours out. But other than that, we appreciate you watching. And if you got any questions, you can give us a call, 423-475-7663. And like I said, here's our website. You can go to this one, or you can go to rvroofinstall.com. You can go there as well. So either one will get you there. This is just easier for me to cut out. Thanks for watching.